Now, the myth of perfect composition can be limiting, and it's one that I'll hope you start to break free from. Composition is about communication, not perfection. And yes, of course, these rules are very, very helpful, but they shouldn't be the only way to approach a scene. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another episode in my series of essential landscape photography skills. The skills you need to get those banger shots. Now, today we're going to go into one of the biggest myths in landscape photography, and that's the idea that there is a perfect composition that everybody should follow. Now, of course, it's something that we hear all the time. Follow the rule of thirds, use leading lines, balance that frame. But of course, these are very helpful guidelines, but when we treat them as a strict rule, we limit our creativity. So let's break down this myth and explore how you can create even more impactful images by embracing imperfections and experimentation. Composition is something every photographer thinks about, often obsessively. The perfect composition is something that we all strive for. But here's the truth, there's no such thing. Composition isn't a rigid set of rules. It's, like my friend Mas Peter Everson once said, and I've said many times, it's a tool. And like any tool, it should be used to serve the image and not dictate it. Now, many photographers, especially when you're starting out, you get caught up in the treating of the rules like the rule of thirds or balance and framing as absolutes. And they often think that deviating from these principles will result in weaker photos. And of course, while this can be true, some of the most compelling images break these rules entirely. So think of iconic landscape shots where the subject is off-center, or the lines aren't leading the viewer exactly where you might have thought that they would. In these cases, the photographer isn't just making any technical perfect composition, they're conveying emotion, capturing a feeling, or telling a story. Now, the perfect composition, like I said, is a myth. So instead, composition should be flexible, and it should serve your vision for the shot, which most importantly fits the scene that you're photographing. Now, before I go on, let's be very, very clear. Composition guidelines exist for a reason. They help people starting out, and particularly in beginners, to understand that a balanced or structure or harmony is all important in images. But the problem comes when we get too attached to these formulas. So if you rigidly apply these rules, you might miss out on something truly stunning. For example, take the rule of thirds. It's a widely accepted way to create balance in a frame, but some of the most striking images deliberately break this rule by placing a subject dead center. And in fact, off-center or asymmetrical compositions, they can create tension and intrigue, adding a whole new layer of depth to the image. And similarly, leading lines, they're often recommended to guide the viewer's eye right through the frame. But sometimes letting the composition be chaotic or off-kilter might actually be a better reflection of the mood and the energy in the scene. Composition is a language, and like any language, it evolves.
I hope you're enjoying this video. I just wanted to jump in real quick to remind you that you can grab a copy of my free 62-page ebook, Essential Landscape Photography Skills, when you join my newsletter. It's packed with tips from my years behind the camera, plus interactive links to YouTube videos showing how I captured those shots, and dedicated tutorials on each topic. Sign up, download it instantly, and take your landscape photography to the next level. There's links in the description below. Back to the video.
Let's talk about why context should matter more than rules. So every landscape is different, and that's where we need to trust our instincts. The composition you choose should reflect the emotional atmosphere of the scene and not to be dictated by a textbook rule. So let's think about it a bit further. Imagine shooting a dramatic storm over the ocean with waves crashing against the rocks. Now, a perfectly balanced composition here would actually feel off and would not convey the raw energy of the scene. Instead, an unbalanced, chaotic composition can make the viewer feel the intensity of that storm. Now, on the other hand, if you're photographing a peaceful mountain reflection on a calm lake, then a symmetrically centered composition might work best. It enhances the tranquility and the order of the scene. The key is to understanding how the light, the weather, and the emotion of the moment should guide your framing in the shot. Now, one of the most liberating things that you can do in landscape photography is to embrace imperfections. After all, nature doesn't follow the same rules, so neither should you. And unlike studio photography, where you have total control, landscape photography is all about working with what's in front of you. Trees might not align perfectly, rocks may clutter the foreground, and of course, the light may fall unevenly across the scene. Now, moving around and looking through the viewfinder will reveal many different components that can either add or subtract from the shot. These imperfections are part of what makes landscape photography authentic. Now, some of the best photographers out there intentionally embrace these imperfections. Maybe it's a tree that's slightly off center, or a horizon line that wouldn't actually look exactly straight. Now, these little quirks add personality and, of course, authenticity to an image. It's about showing the landscape and for what it is, with all its beauty and imperfections. By letting go of the need for perfection, then you start to capture the true essence of the scene, instead of something that feels sterile or even forced. Rather than chasing the idea of perfect composition, focus on developing your own style. Look at composition as a tool for telling your story, rather than following a set formula. And over time, you'll begin to see what works for you and what doesn't. Now, it's important, obviously, that you take risks. We live in a digital world, so experiment and break the rules. And you never know that some of your best images may come from those trying something different moments. Unconventionally or unplanned, this is exactly what landscape photography is all about. Now, whether it's using an odd angle or framing a scene from a unique perspective, or breaking the composition rules entirely, the most powerful images often come from moments of experimentation. Don't be afraid to test out new ideas either. So whether you're shooting in harsh midday light or in the middle of a storm or with flat and grey skies, try new things and observe how they affect your composition and the emotional tone of your images. Now, I have an approach which I've outlined before in my episodes about composition, and I'll link that as well to up here. But if you want to actually know a quick insight into it, for me, it's about looking through the viewfinder and finding the first thing. You need three, but the first thing is finding the star of the show. Like any good star, it needs a supporting actor to prop up that star or to make that star shine. And then all you need is a third element. Not a third element could be light, it could be waves, it could be a bird, it could be a tree, it could be whatever it is within the scene. And by getting the three of those together, then you're on the way to making a strong image. Now, the myth of perfect composition can be limiting, and it's one that I'll hope you start to break free from. Composition is about communication, not perfection. And yes, of course, these rules are very, very helpful, but they shouldn't be the only way to approach a scene. So next time you're out in the field, trust your instincts, let the scene guide you, and embrace the imperfections and experiment with your framing. And more importantly, don't worry about perfect composition. Focus on what makes the image feel right for the scene that you're photographing. So what do you think? Are you someone who strictly follows these rules, or do you prefer to experiment with a different approach? Let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful, and give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank my amazing Patreon supporters. Your support allows me to keep creating videos like this and getting out into more locations to capture new content. If you'd like to join this community, gain exclusive access to content, early access to video releases, and even discounts on my workshops and guidebooks, then I'd love for you to consider becoming a Patreon today. Just scan the QR code right here, and I'd love to have you there. Thanks as always for watching. Hopefully I'm lucky enough to see you in the next one. Slán go fóill.